We begin the news headlines in Ekiti State, where some students and their teachers have been abducted. 6 school children, 3 teachers, and a bus driver were kidnapped in Emure, Ekiti, while the school bus was conveying the children to Ekoro, Ekiti. The gunmen were said to have ambushed the school bus carrying the pupils from a private nursery school back home. Police say efforts are underway to get the children and their teachers rescued.
Kidnapping that occurred around Emure that same yesterday, where some pupils were kidnapped alongside their teachers and the driver. About 10 of them were kidnapped. 5 pupils, about 3 teachers, 1 driver, and a conductor. So we have deployed our search team, response team, our intelligence team, to that axis. We are assuring the good people of Ekiti State that these school children will be brought back alive. They are going to be rescued in no distant time.
The kidnap of the students is coming on the heels of the killing of 2 traditional rulers in Ekiti State. It's all gloom as residents of Eshu Ekiti and Imojo Ekiti are mourning the death of their monarchs. Oba Babatunde Ogunshaki and Oba Olushola Olatunde were killed while returning to their communities after attending a Security Council meeting in Ekpao, Ekiti. Residents say they are disappointed in the security situation along the border communities in Ekiti and claim the monarchs were assassinated. Community leaders are seeking the intervention of the federal government to empower local security outfits to combat insecurity in border towns. The governor of Ekiti State, Biodun Oyebanji, has visited the affected communities where he assured them that the perpetrators would be caught.
We're in grief, I'm in pain as a way to have lost 2 prominent KBACs in Oye and Ikoyi local government. But the weapons, like I said, the weapons used by the bandits, AK-47s, they saw them with pump actions, and our local security holds den guns. Den guns cannot, combat these criminalities. So therefore, I want to urge the federal government to remember the regional policing and community policing and increase their capacity. We have the manpower, they are fortified, but they needed to also carry equal ammunition so they can be able to combat and suppress this level of criminalities across the borders and forests of Ajoni SCDA.
Well, the community, like I told Mr. Governor, Mr. Cosno have been here on a consultative visit, and I told him the community believed that the KBAC were assassinated and that they should use all the security granite to help fish out the killers.
His phone is intact. The money that is with him is intact. They didn't go for any of those things. So it's not maybe a kidnapping show. It's just an assassin. But God knows everything. We may not know as human beings, but God sees everything and knows everything. Though everything is dark to us, but God sees everything.
This is an affront on us as a people, and it's sacrilege against the national institution. But I'm grateful and thankful to Mr. President, who was on the phone with me for close to 1 hour yesterday to commiserate with the Ekiti people and to also give the appropriate directive to the security agencies to fish out the perpetrator of this dastardly act.
Right, Rufai, unfortunate news coming in from Ekiti State. Killings, kidnappings, just speaks to the state of insecurity in the nation currently. Your take on this story?
It's a sad one. Our commiserations to the traditional rulers. The Yorubas have a saying, they say, Oba Waja. And it is very sad that on this occasion, our traditional rulers had to be killed in this way and fashion. Very sacrilegious. In fact, it's a desecration of our culture. And we pray for the repose of their souls. But what do we say? Because it has become a pattern in almost every part of the country, the killing of traditional rulers. the wanton destruction of lives. But the president has not been able to give us a cogent solution. And I think for those that are saying 6 months is enough to judge him, we started on a very bad note. What shocks me the most is that while all of this is happening, he's out there in France on a private visit while the people are dying. And that's why you see other people are filling up the slot like Peter Obi going to commiserate. Because when you have a commander-in-chief that can't even go and commiserate with the people, and it speaks volumes. And this was the same president that didn't even spare a thought for those that were killed in Kaduna in his New Year Day message. This is the same president that has not been able to nip all of this in the bud. And what shocks me is the fact that this traditional went for a security meeting. Just a replica of what happened in Kaduna a couple of years ago, that people went for a security meeting, but when they were coming back, they were so scared to go through the same road they went to because of the fear of their insecurity. And while all of that is happening, the kidnap of children is another sad affront. And the problem is we never bring these perpetrators to book. Till today, those that massacred people in the Catholic Church in Ondo have not been brought to book. And a lot of murders go unpunished. So we keep breeding a society where you have a lot of instability because they know that the perpetrators will not be brought to book. I'm sure the security forces will say, media, please don't report that they're asking for ransom. But is it a lie we're saying that now they're asking for ransom for the 10 people that were kidnapped, these pupils and all of that, 100 million? I just hope they are not going to get killed. And that's why we want, number one, intelligence by the police, 2, proper reconnaissance, 3, being able to track the phone line of these people once they make contact with the families of those people. Because we have the security paraphernalia. I was talking about global positioning satellite system that's been there for over 40 years. It's open source technology. You can use apps like GoFind and the likes to track the location of all these calls. But why are we not seeing solutions? Also, I will want a strengthening of our own state security force like Abaton. I know how the Attorney General, the Attorney General of the last administration, Malami, said, no, they cannot carry guns. And if you don't want citizens to carry guns, then set up state security and let them have the right to carry guns. Amotekun should be able to carry AK-47. Because I believe if Amotekun is carrying sophisticated weapons, they'll flush these people out. But there's no parity as regards weapons. You're carrying Dane guns and all of that. And that's why you see a lawmaker is trying to push through a law that citizens should be allowed to carry firearms. I don't support that because it's a return to anarchy. But are we not at anarchy already in the country? Is this not anarchy that no life is safe? And in all of this, anyways, the role of the presidency is to reply. The presidency is replying when Atiku Abubakar is speaking the truth by saying that if the president can't stand the heat, he should get out of the kitchen. Tell me one line what Atiku has said. Is it because these things don't touch these people at the top? All lives matter in Nigeria, but it's as if the life of the poor does not matter. We don't have security guards. We don't have money to pay police. So the solutions are around the things we've always said. And how can we quickly expedite this special investigative squad or whatever they're called, SIS, to be able to go to every part and provide security? And also, this happened, I hear the roads around that area in Ekiti are very terrible roads. Very bad roads. So also it goes back to governance. And that's why when I say the domino effect that everything comes back to crash, it goes back to governance. When people don't do roads and things like that, you have bad potholes everywhere. It's an opening for these people to be able to attack. How can we have effective surveillance, effective security in all of these areas? Please. The president has given a directive. It's incumbent on the security agents to be able to bring out the killers of 1, our KBACs, 2, and release those students without paying ransom. Because we don't want yet another Nabena incident. And after at the end, they blame Peter Obi for going to condole with victims. When the president is supposed to be there to do the work and he's not there, nowhere to be found. We are quickly bringing the country of anarchy. And we need to nip this in the bud.
a stitch in time saves 9. Please.
All right, so like I mentioned earlier, this is a reflection of the state of insecurity in the country currently, with a number of responses from different arms and different agencies and different groups and different individuals. Yesterday, Tuesday, during the resumption to plenary of the House of Representatives, they held a minute's silence in honor of all those who had lost their lives in the course of very unfortunate circumstances in recent times, including, of course, the 2 girls who were killed in Abuja. And we must continue to mention their names until their perpetrators are brought to book. And more than that, their memory is preserved by a pushback on insecurity and a proper tackling or handling of the situation. Nabiha and Folorunsho. Now, beyond these killings, we now have 2 traditional rulers from Ekiti State who were killed. As we saw in that video, the chat with one of the widows of the Kabiesis, she insinuated that this was beyond what met the eye. So not just a kidnapping situation, but perhaps it could well be an assassination situation. And this is a very heavy statement coming from his widow. Of course, she must be quite distraught, in a state of mourning. But there must be some, gravitas given to the words that she has spoken. And perhaps the police might want to look into that in the course of their investigations. Also, we've had reactions, as the governor of Ekiti State had mentioned. He went physically to visit the widow and members who had lost family members. And he had mentioned that the president, in his commiseration message, had also said that they were going to bring these men to book. But the concern is this. Only a few weeks back, the IG of police, Kaide Egbetokun, launched the Special Investigation Squad, SIS. And he had mentioned that this elite squad was meant or being trained specially as special forces to tackle the issue of insecurity, especially violent crimes like armed robbery, banditry, kidnapping. To be fair, they had mentioned that they were going to roll out to 2 states initially, two cities, Abuja as a city, and then the Plateau State. And the reason for this, of course, was as a result of the crimes that had been recorded in these 2 places in Nigeria in recent times. And he had mentioned that in the course of the few weeks coming, they would roll out the program to other states in the Federation. So it begs the question, despite the successes that they say they have recorded in just a few weeks of being launched, what then happened to the other states? It means that this issue we're talking about is bigger than just it being regional. It's no longer situated in Abuja or Plateau State anymore. It's spreading its tentacles to other parts of the Federation, and you can understand if it's causing panic for the Nigerian citizen. The responsibility of government is to provide security and to secure the lives and property of the people who have entrusted their, entrusted leadership or thrust leadership on whoever it is in government. And that is why there's a call to the president, as the chief security officer of the nation, to pay urgent attention to the state of insecurity in Nigeria currently. There are a number of initiatives that have been launched. Some might say that, let's give it a bit of time for us to begin to see or feel the impact of these initiatives. However, the unfortunate thing, or the reality is that we don't have the luxury of time. We can't afford to lose more people, have more commiseration visits, have more assurances of picking up these criminals, whilst Nigerians lose their lives almost every other day. It seems as if the actions are too slow to meet up with the urgency of what is on ground with regards to the security situation. Of course, you would agree that it has far-reaching impact, one of which we talked about the fact that it also impacts the state of the economy, because we're looking to attract foreign direct investment. Yes, we can tackle the monetary policy aspects of things. But when it comes to the fiscal aspects, which includes the security of lives and property, it is a deterrent to anyone who would want to come in here to do business. Last week, Lagos was said to be the, 19th most looked forward city to visit in the world. Who wants to visit a nation where you are not guaranteed or whether you make it back in one piece? But beyond even looking at the external impact is the impact on Nigerians themselves, where people do not have the confidence to move about freely. This is a call to security agencies. There needs to be a state of emergency called upon on the issue of insecurity in Nigeria as it stands. Because beyond kidnapping, we still have banditry. There are still attacks across different states and different parts of the country. And so the president making a phone call commiserating, that's fine, it's good, maybe not enough. But beyond commiserations, what Nigerians need is action and decisive action against this. We must have deterrence, we must have arrest, we must make examples. It is not possible that this administration is not able to manage or handle insecurity in Nigeria currently. Again, our condolences to all those who have lost loved ones at this time, and our call is for the government to take action, and action very immediately so as to stem the tide of insecurity. This week marks 25 years, moving on to other stories, since Jimmy Abayomi Abaton, popularly known as Jay Abaton, a mixed-race British-Nigerian man, was killed outside a nightclub in Brighton. His brother, Michael Olatunde Abaton, who was also attacked that night in 1999, insists Jay was murdered and has accused Sussex police of a cover-up, motivated by racism and secret relations with prime suspects. Arise News International correspondent Adefemi Akinsoya reports.
To get rid of or to look at the CCTV.
In a small room in the vast Houses of Parliament in London, the Abaton family has gathered for a cross-party meeting hosted by Conservative MP Peter Buckley. It's been 25 years since Jimmy Abayomi Abaton, popularly known as Jay, was killed outside the Ocean's Rooms nightclub in Brighton. He and his brother Michael were attacked by a group of white men. Jay was punched twice in the face and fell, hitting his head on the concrete pavement. He died in hospital days later.
He was fighting for his life. It was an agony. He was in pain. When that taxi driver was taking the group of men away from the scene, they were laughing. They were joyous. They were saying, oh, he fell, I hit him so hard he fell like a sack of potatoes.
No person has been convicted for Jay's killing. Over the course of 2.5 decades, Sussex police has been criticised by the Abaton family, but also by internal police documents which found officers use racist language such as half-caste and coloured to describe Jay, who was mixed race, born to an English mother and Nigerian father. The investigation was also found to have been under-resourced and now tainted by claims of conspiracy. The Guardian says an anonymous witness details a Sussex police officer who was known to the suspects went on holiday with them in August of 1999 to France, where Jay's killing was discussed.
Justice for Jay is the people that attacked Jay, they're actually held accountable for what they did and what they did to me as well. And the police officers that actually helped them to get away scot-free, they should be also held to accountable.
Our union will support you for as long as it takes.
An inquest ruled Jay's killing unlawful and unprovoked. It also highlighted there had been no convictions despite suspects being identified soon after the attack.
Nothing has changed. I've been fighting for justice for Jay for 25 years, and I don't see any improvement whatsoever in police forces around England and Wales.
Here in the UK, there's been cross-party support for the Justice for Jay campaign.
Through the Peace and Justice Project, which was setting up a section on dealing with equality and inequality and miscarriage of justice, what I'll do is put the links up and a description of the case, and perhaps if I may just quote what you've written in here to go on that. And we've got about 70,000 people on our mailing list, so I'll send it to all of them.
Sussex police has been helping.
In addition to the support from the UK government, the Abaton family also want their plight to reach the Nigerian government and diaspora.
I'm fighting justice every day because I'm still alive, and that's what my brother, he was 11 years older than me, and Egbon, Aburu, that's what happens. you have to keep fighting to get justice for your loved ones.
Michael says his dedication is unwavering.
Jay always said, the guilty are afraid. They should be afraid. I am coming for them.
And so the Abaton family's journey to justice continues, led by one heartbroken man, forever his big brother's keeper. Adefemi Akisoya, Arise News, London.
All right, 25 years later, very sad story and quite noteworthy and I think praiseworthy that his brother, Jay Abaton's brother, Michael Abaton, is unrelenting in his quest for justice. And thanks to Adefemi, our international correspondent, for bringing this story to the fore again so that we will not forget Jay and that there will be justice for Jay Abaton.
I mean, very sad one again, and it's just a stark reminder of what happened in that era and what is still happening today, as regards, race relations from America to the UK and all of that, and racism in general. I remember the case was quite very prominent then because he was killed for no just reason. These were just, racist thugs, that went at him, punched him, and they hurt him. And also the complicity of the state in the problem was even more palpable because they were deliberately defunded. They would not push on with the case because officers in charge had, direct relations with the prime suspect in the matter, and nothing was ever done. Pretty much reminds you of many other cases like of Stephen Taylor. I think one other one that comes to mind that was very high profile around the time was the case of Damilola Taylor. And it just shows the complicity of the state in all of this. But we're happy that we have both parties, the Conservative and the Labour Party. I could see Jeremy Corbyn there, trying as much as possible to push advocacy and all of that to be able to ensure that this matter gets out there. And the matter is looked at again, and the Sussex Police in Brighton is made to account. And all of those people that have one or two things to do with that murder that did not follow up with the case, then they are made to account. I mean, we've seen how corrupt the police in Britain is. We've seen even what the Metropolitan Police has done in recent times as regards corruption and as regards how some of its members harassed citizens, and led to the death of some citizens in the UK. And we've seen the mammoth level of corruption. And pretty much what we are calling on the government of Rishi Sunak to do is to have an inquest into the matter, to revisit the matter. And it should be made a very strong talking point leading up to general elections. Because issues of race relations are very important issues in the UK, and people should not be killed. I mean, the only reason why Jay was killed is because it was mixed race. If it was pure white, probably that would not happen. And increasingly, with the rise of right-wing nationalism as regards the politics in the UK and some other parts of Europe, we're increasingly having this. I mean, look at it in the Netherlands, we had the rise of Get Wilders, which is very anti-Islam agenda and the likes. Even in the UK, with parties like UKIP, constantly pushing and say, okay, they are not part of us and all of that. A very right-wing media. And increasingly, they are funding and they're giving fillip to all of these people to perpetrate all sorts of violence and crimes like this. And that's why this should be nipped in the bud. And more advocacy should be done. And, we can only pray that his soul continue to rest in peace. And his family should not relent, on this. Because 25 years on, justice needs to be. And I don't think it's, it's out of the case as regards getting justice. I mean, even no matter how long it is, you can still get justice, even despite the fact that they think the case is closed. I mean, we remember the case of, this doesn't relate to race issues, but we remember the case of Jimmy Savile, that did a lot of heinous crimes against children and young people, sexually assaulted them and went away like that. He died with all his honors. But when the case was revisited and he was seen to be a very heinous and terrible man, then all his reputation damage happened even after his death. So I don't think this matter is completely closed.
I don't believe murder is statute-based, so they can still continue the investigation. A lot has happened since the UK Act of Parliament, Race Relations Act of 1968, came into force. However, this case, in the case of Jay Abaton and other cases, as you've mentioned, Damilola Taylor and a few others who have been killed or perhaps harmed or refused support because of their race, still continues to show up the Race Relations Act, even though there have been modifications here and there, but it still shows and demonstrates that the UK still has a deep problem when it comes to race relations. It's been there, sometimes it's overt, other times it's covert. other times, in some cases, it's termed as institutional. It's a big issue that the UK must tackle. And this is a call made on behalf of J. Abaton's family members and other people of black and minor ethnic backgrounds for the UK government to hold on to its principles of justice, human rights, and protection of lives and properties to ensure that the murderers or those who killed or were party to the killing, because the inquest ruled in this, following the investigation into J. Abaton's death, that it was unlawful and unprovoked. Whether it is termed as manslaughter or murder, the inquest revealed that it was unprovoked and it was unlawful. So why has the Sussex police been so reluctant, as it were, to fish out the killers? The UK, when it comes to sophistication of technology in tackling crime, is very, they have really sophisticated tools and technology to aid in fishing out criminals, including CCTVs. CCTV is almost in almost every nook and cranny of the UK, so it's easy to track movements. What is even shocking is the Guardian report just 2 days ago that one of the police officers in this case went on holiday with one of the suspected killers. That is mind-boggling. That is almost a mockery and a stamping on the grief of J. Abaton's family. Why was this officer not called to book, irrespective of whether or not the killers have gone to court and have been found guilty? The fact that they are under investigation and the policeman involved in the case would go on holiday with them should be brought to question and should be investigated. When we talk about institutional racism in the UK, the police force is one institution that has been under a lot of criticism for the way that they respond to distress calls by people from the BME community or BAME community, or the way that they respond a bit more aggressively when someone from that community is under investigation. The same passion, if I put it that way, should be put in the case of these young boys who now have got probably 25 years after, are in their 50s now, or perhaps middle to early 40s, late 40s, and still walking free, whilst J. Abaton's family are unable to move on properly because they've not been able to get closure. Now, in the case of Nigeria, the Nigerian government stepping in because of the fact that J. Abaton's father is from Nigeria, it's a bit dicey because it could also be said that he is a British national, and so his first responsibility or the first port of call would be the British government. I believe that the reason why they've made this call is because they have come to their wits' end with regards to dealing with the British government, and so are looking on to Nigeria to support. I don't know to what extent. We can advocate, the Nigerian government can step in, but I believe it also gives an opportunity to raise concerns around some of the killings that have happened to Nigerians in diaspora. And the Diasporan Commission, I know they've done a lot in terms of trying to support Nigerians in Libya, for instance, and some of the Middle Eastern countries who have lost their lives for no reason, just because of their skin color. So I believe that beyond this issue, the British government taking this up, Nigerians should also support their own with regards to the hundreds who have been killed because of their search or their quest for a better life in other parts of the world. We must protect our own, we must support our own, but unfortunately, we're not even protecting our own back home in Nigeria. How do we then grapple with those who are outside the shores of Nigeria? Every Nigerian life matters, whether on the shores of Nigeria or whether abroad. So I hope the Nigerian government will take this up, but beyond that, other matters of killings, innocent killings of Nigerians in diaspora.